If I was a young woman watching that, I would go, well, I might as well just go and play with my Cindy dolls and give up trying at school because I'm not going to get the top job I want because there's someone sitting there saying it's not possible and it's not desirable, it's going to make you miserable.
Desirable. That's what I said. It's a bad social goal. I didn't say that women shouldn't be striving for the top or anything like that, because I don't believe that for a second.
Striving for the top, but you're going to put all those hurdles in their way, as has been in their way for centuries, and that's fine. You're saying that's fine.
No, I really think
the patriarchal system is just fine.
That's silly. I do. I think that's silly. I really do. I mean, look at your situation. You're hardly unsuccessful.
Yeah, and I have battled quite hard to get where I've got to.
Keyword.
Okay, battling is good.
That's what he did. That's the whole point. Point. That's what he said. It's going to be a knockout, drag-out war. No, even a woman is going to fight with, or not against, but, even a woman is going to fight long and hard for whatever that position is, whatever that credential is, whatever that role is that she wants. She's going to fight, even if it's another woman that has her competition.
Right.
She's not worried about. She wants that role, so she doesn't care who the person is.
Right.
This is all about the
inevitable.
Fight. But you talk about men fighting. Let me just put another thing to you from the book.
Why wouldn't you have to battle for a high-quality position?
Exactly.
Well, I notice in your book you talk about real conversations between men containing, quote, an underlying threat of physicality.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
What about real conversations between women? Is that something, or are we sort of too amenable and reasonable?
No, it's just that the domain of physical conflict is sort of off limits for you.
Well, you just said that I've fought to get where I've got.
Yeah, but
what does that mean?
That's what you just said.
I don't imagine that to some degree, I suspect you're not very agreeable.
So that's the thing. Successful women, I'm not very agreeable.
Right. I've noticed that actually in this conversation.
At least
and I'm sure it served your career well.
Successful women, though, basically have to wear the trousers, in your view. They have to sort of become men to succeed, is what you're saying.
Well, if they're
I've had to fight to succeed,
if they're
therefore
going to
I'm an
compete
honorary
against
man.
Men, certainly masculine traits are going to be helpful. I mean, one of the things I do in my counseling.
And she probably has them. She probably has them while she's pushed to the top like that.
I like his cool demeanor because I would not have gotten that far without telling her to let me finish saying what I need to say before you keep interrupting me. So here's how we're going to do this interview. I'm going to talk first. Then you ask me the question. I'm going to respond. And you're going to wait for me to finish.
Or you're going to be like Kanye on the Tomcast?
Yeah.
Tomcast podcast?
Yeah, because at this point, you have an agenda and you have an agenda and you don't want to get my questions out because anytime a person is not allowing someone else to speak, they're not listening to anything they're saying. They're only asking so they can think of their next question or their next response. She's not listening to half of what he's saying.
Correct.
Practice, for example, when I'm consulting with women who are trying to advance their careers is to teach them how to negotiate and to be able to say no and to not be easily pushed around and to be formidable. And you need to, if you're going to be successful, you need to be smart, conscientious, and tough.
Well, here's a radical idea.
Tough.
Why don't the bosses
That's right.
the male bosses, shall we say, adopt some female traits so that women don't have to fight and get their sharp elbows out for the pay rises. It's just acceptable they get the same pay.
Girl, please. Even if your competition is not a man, for whatever that role is, you're going to fight because you want the number one spot. It ain't got nothing to do with, and this is just how I feel. If you're the best at what you do, you're going to fade everybody else. Because we look at so many areas, so many industries where we see number one people, men and women. It was a drag-out dog fight to get to the top. E.T. says it. Stormy Wellington says it. Andrew Tate is saying it. So many others. Bob Proctor. I can keep going on and on and on. These people are number ones at what they've done, and they've been holding that spot for a while. You think it was a cakewalk to get up there? You didn't think it was other men and women who want the same spot where they are? Come on now.
Okay.
Well, I would say partly because it's not so easy to determine what constitutes the same job.
But that's because, arguably, there are still men dominating our industries, our society, and therefore they've dictated the terms for so long that women have to battle to be like the men.
No, it's not true. It's not true. So, for example...
Where's the evidence?
Well, I can give you an example very quickly. So I worked with women who worked in high-powered law firms in Canada for about 15 years, and they were as competent and put together as anybody you would ever meet. and we were trying to figure out how to further their careers. And there was a huge debate in Canadian society at that point that was basically ran along the same lines as your argument, is that if the law firms didn't use these masculine criteria, then perhaps women would do better. But the market sets the damn game. It's like...
And the market is dominated by men.
No,
so
it's not. It's not. The market is dominated by women. They make 80% of the consumer decisions. That's not the case at all.
If you're talking about people who stay at home looking after children, by and large, they are still women. So they're going out doing the shopping. But that is changing.
They make all the consumer decisions.
Okay, so
the market is driven by women, not men.
Right.
Okay, and if you're a lawyer in Canada...
And they still pay more for the same sort of goods. That's been proven, that men, you buy a blue bicycle helmet, it's going to cost less than a pink one. Anyway, we'll come on to that.
It's partly because men are less agreeable. Right, so they won't put up with it.
I want to ask you,
it makes sense.
Some of those female traits you're talking about, I'd say that's a generalization, but you've used the words female traits. Is it not desirable to have some of them at the top of business? I mean, maybe there wouldn't have been a banking crisis.
They don't predict success in the workplace. The things that predict success in the workplace are intelligence and conscientiousness. Agreeableness negatively predicts success in the workplace. And so does high negative emotion.
You're saying that women...
that you have! You just called her out.
I didn't say that at all.
You said that female traits don't predict success.
But I didn't say that intelligence wasn't.
So what I see is going on, she read this book by Jordan Peterson, and she caught offense and is highlighting all of the things that she, as a woman who had to work her tail off against other men to get the role that she has, and still ain't happy because she's underpaid. I mean, it is what it is. So all the highlights that she's presenting, and I want to read this book. I definitely want to read this book. Add this to my Kindle or Audible, because I'm clearly interested as to what, some of the things that she's pointing out. I don't have the mindset of, I don't care about a man wanting to go after something I want to. They're not my competition. I'm my competition. I set my own standards, and if I want a number one spot, I'm willing to do whatever it takes within my moral compass to be number one. I will miss the mere necessities, food, sleep, and socialization to get the job done at a high level. Period. That's what he's saying, the mindset of a man. I'm not saying that I have the mindset of a man, but to a degree, yeah, I do. I have the masculine energy and drive to put it down to be a multimillionaire.
Yes, you do, boy.
To be a multimillionaire, because it is not for the faint and weak-hearted. So all this stuff now I see, she's driven purely based off emotion and not allowing him to be able to get it out. But he's getting it in there. And he's like, oh, no, I got the facts, and I'm still being cool, calm, and collected. That is a clinical psychologist.
I didn't say that intelligence and conscientiousness.
Well, you were saying that intelligence and conscientiousness by implication are not female traits.
No.
I mean, that's very dangerous territory.
I'm not saying that at all.
Are women less intelligent than men?
No.
Oh, my gosh.
No, the data on that's pretty clear. The average IQ for a woman and the average IQ for a man is identical. There is some debate about the flatness of the distribution, which is something that James Damore pointed out, for example, in his memo, but there's no difference at all in general cognitive ability. There's no difference to speak of in conscientiousness. Women are a bit more orderly than men, and men are a little bit more industrious than women. But the difference isn't big. But that averages into conscientiousness.
Plenty of men who aren't necessarily as
industrious. Of course.
But we'll
female traits. Facts, lady.
Why are they not
feminine traits?
Why are they not desirable at the top of feminine
facts?
Traits? Why are they not desirable at the top of business?
It's hard to say. I'm just laying out the empirical evidence. Like we know the traits that predict success.
But we also know, because companies by and large have not been dominated by women over the centuries, we have nothing to compare it to. It's an experiment.
True, and it could be the case that if companies modified their behavior and became more feminine, that they would be successful. But there's no evidence for it. I'm neither doubtful nor non-doubtful. There's no evidence for it.
So why not give it a go?
Proof!
Because the evidence suggests, well, it's fine.
Facts!
If someone wants to start a company and make it more feminine and compassionate, let's say, and caring in its overall orientation towards its workers and towards the marketplace, then that's a perfectly reasonable experiment to run. My point is that there is no evidence that those traits predict success in the workplace.
He's a scientist. That's why he keeps going back to empirical evidence. What is empirical evidence? There's a research studies that have been done to say this correlates to this, or causes, or it could be, leading to. Most research is not going to say, this thing causes this thing, because there's so many other factors that could correlate to why this does this. Except for a few studies, they can say now that cigarette smoking will cause lung cancer. So it's those types of studies that they'll say will cause. But most studies, they're not going to say this causes this, correlates symptoms, but he's a scientist. He's giving you facts. She's all emotion. She's getting on my nerves. Okay, I'm sorry.
And there's
because it's never
evidence
been tried.
Well, that's not really the case. Women have been in the workplace for what? At least ever since I've been around, the representation of women in the workplace has been about 50%. So we've run the experiment for a fairly reasonable period of time, but not, certainly not for centuries.
Let me move on to another debate that's been very controversial for you. And this is, you got in trouble for refusing to call trans men and women by their preferred personal pronouns.
I knew it was about to go to this, but I really want to hear it.
Go.
Because I think we kind of, me and him share the same view on some of this. But
all right, let's go.
And this is, you got in trouble for refusing to call trans men and women by their preferred personal pronouns.
No, that's not actually true. I got in trouble because I said I would not follow the compelled speech dictates of the federal and provincial government. I actually never got in trouble for not calling anyone anything.
Right.
That didn't happen.
Let's be clear.
Change of law, which was designed
not
to
once it was
outlaw
law.
discrimination.
No.
Well,
that's what they said it was designed to do.
Okay, you cited freedom of speech in that. Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. Like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot. I'm very glad that I have exercised my freedom of speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on. And that is what you should do. But you're exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
Except you haven't sat there and... I'm just trying to work that out. I mean...
You weren't expecting it. Right, you weren't expecting that. You weren't expecting that.
It took a while.
It did, yeah.
It took a while. You have voluntarily come into the studio and agreed to be questioned. A trans person in your class has come to your class and said they want to be called
That's never happened. And I would call them she.
So you would. So you've kind of changed your tune on that.
No, I said that right from the beginning. What I said at the beginning was that I was not going to cede the linguistic territory to radical leftists, regardless of whether or not it was put in law. That's what I said. And then the people who came after me said, oh, you must be transphobic and you'd mistreat a student in your class. It's like, I never mistreated a student in my class. I'm not transphobic, and that isn't what I said.
Well, it's called trans campaigners authoritarian, haven't you? I mean, isn't that grossly...
Well, only in the broader context of my claims that radical leftist ideologues are authoritarian, which they are.
You're saying someone who's trying to work out their gender identity, who may well have struggled with that, had quite a tough time over the years. You're comparing them with, Chairman Mao, who saw the deaths of millions of people. Well, even if the activists, they're trans people too. They have a right to say these things.
Yeah, but they don't have a right to speak for their whole community.
To compare them to Chairman Mao or... Augusto Pinochet. I mean, this is grossly insensitive.
No, I didn't compare them to Pinochet.
Well,
I did compare them to
He was an authoritarian.
He's a right-winger, though. I was comparing them to the left-wing totalitarians. And I do believe they are left-wing totalitarians.
Under Mao, millions of people died. Right. I mean, there's no comparison between Mao and a trans activist, is there?
Why not?
Because trans activists aren't killing millions of people?
The philosophy that's guiding their utterances is the same philosophy.
The consequences are...
Not yet.
You're saying that trans activists could lead to the deaths of millions of people?
I'm saying that the philosophy that drives their utterances is the same philosophy that already has driven us to the deaths of millions of people.
Okay, tell us how that philosophy is in any way comparable.
Sure, that's no problem. The first thing is that the philosophy presumes that group identity is paramount. That's the fundamental philosophy that drove the Soviet Union and Maoist China. And it's the fundamental philosophy of the left-wing activists. It's identity politics. It doesn't matter who you are as an individual. It matters who you are in terms of your group identity.
You're just saying these things, though, to provoke, aren't you? I mean, you are a provocateur.
I never said
You're like
anything.
the alt-right that you hate to be compared to. You want to stir things up.
I'm only a provocateur insofar as when I say what I believe to be true, it's provocative. I don't provoke. Maybe for humor,
you don't set out to
now
provoke.
and then. I'm not interested in provoking.
But what
Not
about
in
the thing
least.
about, fighting and the lobster? Tell us about the lobster.
Well, that's quite a segue. Well, the first chapter I have in my book is called Stand Up Straight with Your Shoulders Back. And it's an injunction to be combative, not least to further your career, let's say, but also to adopt a stance of ready engagement with the world and to reflect that in your posture. And the reason that I write about lobsters is because there's this idea that hierarchical structures are a sociological construct of the Western patriarchy. And that is so untrue that it's almost unbelievable. And I use the lobster as an example because the lobster, we divulged from lobsters in evolutionary history about 350 million years ago, common ancestor. And lobsters exist in hierarchies, and they have a nervous system attuned to the hierarchy. And that nervous system runs on serotonin, just like our nervous system.
Wait a minute now. Did Jordan Peterson say we came from lobsters?
No, but I gotta zoom into his whole sentence. Don't break my train of thoughts because he's going deep. And when he go deep, that is not the time to interrupt me. So you gotta go back.
Million years ago, common ancestor. And lobsters exist in hierarchies, and they have a nervous system attuned to the hierarchy. And that nervous system runs on serotonin, just like our nervous systems do. And the nervous system of the lobster and of the human being is so similar that antidepressants work on lobsters. And it's part of my attempt to demonstrate that the idea of hierarchy has absolutely nothing to do with sociocultural construction, which it doesn't.
Let me just get this straight. You're saying that we should organise our societies along the lines of the lobsters?
I'm saying that it's inevitable that there will be continuity in the way that animals and human beings organize their structures. It's absolutely inevitable. And there is 1/3 of a billion years of evolutionary history behind that. Right? That's so long that 1/3 of a billion years ago, there weren't even trees. It's a long time. You have a mechanism in your brain that runs on serotonin that's similar to the lobster mechanism that tracks your status. And the higher your status, the better your emotions are regulated. So as your serotonin levels increase, you feel more positive emotion and less negative emotion.
Right.
So you're saying, like the lobsters, we're hardwired as men and women to do certain things, to sort of run along tram lines, and there's nothing we can do about it?
No, I'm not saying there's nothing we can do about it, because it's like in a chess game, right? There's lots of things that you can do, although you can't break the rules of the chess game and continue to play chess. And your biological nature is somewhat like that, is it sets the rules of the game, but within those rules you have a lot of leeway.
That's
but
right.
the idea that, but one thing we can't do is say that hierarchical organization is a consequence of the capitalist patriarchy. It's like, that's patently absurd. It's wrong. It's not a matter of opinion. It's seriously wrong.
Aren't you just whipping people up into a state of anger? And
Not at all.
Divisions between men and women, you're stirring people up. You have people
Stirring you up.
you online get absolutely
That's who getting
lambasted
angry.
by your followers. You've
And
got to
by
call
me,
them off, haven't
generally.
you? Sorry, your critics get lambasted by you. I mean,
If
isn't
they're
that
academics,
irresponsible?
not at all. If an academic is going to come
Okay.
after me and tell me that I'm not qualified and that I don't know what I'm talking about,
So
like,
you're
it's
not going to say
seriously
to your
not the
followers
same.
now, quit the abuse, quit the anger.
Well, we'd need some substantial examples of the abuse and the anger before I could detail that question.
There's a lot of it out there.
Let's take a more general perspective on that. So I've had 25,000 letters since June, something like that, from people who told me that I've brought them back from the brink of destruction. And so I'm perfectly willing to put that up against the rather vague accusations that my followers are making the lives of people that I've targeted miserable.
Jordan Peterson, thank you.
My pleasure.
Exactly.
Nice talking with you.
Please. Oh, I can't get this headphone on fast enough. Oh. I'm about to go and follow this guy so I can check out some of his content and some of the books.
Next, that's on him too.
Because at first I was feeling a little sketchy about this video. I ain't even gonna lie. I'm gonna tell you that
Why?
we weren't gonna do this video.
Why?
Because, well, it's now I see that it's a little controversial, and this is outside of our pattern. But you guys
Why?
know we like doing.
No, it's not.
You guys know we like doing controversial things, and I really liked So he is cool, calm, and collected. I really liked how he's able to control his emotions and give you a direct answer.
I want to know, why is this out of what we do? Why would
Well,
this
at first,
feel like it was
basically, when I first started going in, she wasn't coming the way she was coming. She was, just was gearing up. So she didn't start off with the punchline. She just was going in slow, and then she, kept going and kept going.
It might have been a little too soft.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
but I didn't see where the controversy was coming in.
But
then as the interview continued, then I see how she doesn't give him an opportunity to finish, but yet he gets his point across and he's going to state the facts.
I got you. Okay.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
She is really emotion based in this situation.
Yeah. Because of offense. Because she's that person that was reading this and like, wait a minute, it wasn't fair how I got to the top and blah 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 blah. So she took it off her offense, and we've had personal experience with people like that too. So I see what's going on now on that one.
Yep, it was good. Let's go.
Good,
now
man.
he wants. Now I'm gonna pull him up.
Got my attention.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear.
Only thing.
What else he's talking about?
Only thing I disagree with. Only thing I disagree with, because I don't believe in evolution, but I believe in creation.
He was talking about evolution.
Yeah, from the Lobster, he said that the Earth is millions and billions of years old.
Well, yeah, I heard, but that went right over my mind. But I did agree with him talking about the fact about the serotonin and all about how our bodies pretty much are and brains are governed by laws, and when you pretty much go against the laws of natural laws, there are going to be consequences and you're going to suffer, as in with any ecosystem, society, same thing,
same deal.
Let's go. Yes, a little intellectual stimulation going on here. I love it.
All right, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't take a nose dive. Comment down in the section below if you want some more.
Yeah, guys, let me know what you think about my makeup. So, should I do?
I love it.
The naturals. I think I'm feeling more naturals and pastels coming into this year. So we'll see.
She don't look like she's at Vegas casino with a cigarette in her mouth.
Whatever. Boo. Vegas casino. Anyway, all right, guys, love you. See you on the next video, and we appreciate all of you guys' support. Don't forget to go to Snap for Red TV, subscribe to that channel. I'm going to check out our content on Buy Me a Coffee. Yeah.
All right.